e-com exchange. I'm Nicole from Blue Wheel, and today I have the pleasure of meeting Jana Weinstein, our Director of Social Commerce. Jana, thank you for joining today.
Of course, happy to be here.
I know most of our conversation is going to be around TikTok Shop. So one of the number one questions I get around TikTok Shop is how we're thinking about driving incremental sales versus potentially cannibalizing on other channels. So can you speak to that a little bit, and what have you seen from your experience?
Yeah, it's a great question. TikTok Shop has the power to drive incremental sales and not cannibalize them. Its power lies in capturing impulse purchases from discovery-driven behavior. That doesn't typically happen on traditional e-commerce sites. It often reaches a different kind of customer, one that's more spontaneous, mobile first, and driven by social proof creators. Purchases happen in feed, often on the spot, from content rather than search or comparison shopping. And with 170 million monthly active users, the opportunity is massive. The approach we take for our clients is focused on long-term success, not just going viral. We love to discuss the approach of this visual we have where we take a house and we build a strategy from the ground up. That foundation is how to build a healthy shop. That second floor is launching your content at affiliate strategy. And then we have the roof where we amplify that with paid media.
So when you're thinking about the content that's best for TikTok Shop, whether it's affiliate or other traditional media types, what have you seen to work best?
Yeah, it's a loaded question a little bit because that changes consistently and can depend on the vertical. Overall, content that educates, entertains, or solves a problem quickly while including a clear call to action, that's what converts. And I'll just give you some examples of that. Problem solution hooks, so showcasing how the product works or what's in the package. Before and afters, especially within that beauty, wellness, and fashion space. Creator testimonials, so casual, native feeling videos where a creator explains why they love the product. And then finally, and this is a no-brainer, just TikTok native trends. So capitalizing on trends within the platform and then relating them back to the product. Bottom line is authenticity really is that key to success. That's the cool thing about TikTok Shop. The algorithm rewards engaging content more so than follower count. And on average, about, I would say 70% of GMV done on a shop is driven by affiliates. Creators really are the new storefronts. I say that like every day in conversation. It's super true. They are crucial to the future of commerce. We need to look at them as our strategic partners in building brand equity, driving conversion, and adapting how modern consumers buy products.
And I think that's a huge positive for brands, right? Because I know for those that aren't already on social or aren't a social focused brand in the sense of marketing, it feels like a barrier to entry because of what is perceived to be the amount of content that you need in order to be successful. But if you're saying we're really driving awareness through these affiliates and through authentic content, you don't necessarily need to invest as much into these big productions or, having hundreds of content posted on your page, every month, right?
100%. I think guidance from TikTok itself will be post as many times as you can, multiple times a day, go live for multiple hours a week. And that's just not our recommendation. I do think an organic presence is important. And I think we tell our clients to kind of try and goal yourself to post 1 to 2 times a day if you can. But I will say on the flip side, with that post, it's not as polished or as curated as perhaps you would do for a more like a campaign or something in that front. For TikTok, all you need to do is post a quick video, 30 seconds long, and just get the algorithm to understand who you are as a brand. But I do think, and it's a great point that you make, we really want to focus on the affiliate and creator partnerships that we can build on the platform.
Cool. What do you think about specific strategies across different categories? Do they change? Are they the same? What have you seen with the brands that you've worked with?
Yeah, I think there are some universal levers that are necessary in order to have a successful launch. But each category has nuances that will shape the performance. When we're assessing a brand partner to work with, we make sure they have these things. Ability to lean into creators and kind of release that full creative control that a lot of brands typically or historically have had. They're willing to lean into campaigns and promotional pricings when appropriate. They have a plan, right? And this goes back to what we were just talking about. They have a plan for posting content on their own brand handle, or if not, they're willing to build one. But that being said, it doesn't have to be this crazy, intense content calendar where they're posting a few hundred times per month. Additionally, inventory is really, really crucial. To have ample inventory to be able to both seed product and ship simultaneously is very, very important. And lastly, I would say just committing to amplifying that organic presence with paid media spend.
Okay, got it. So if we're thinking that of like strategy and the content mix and kind of what it looks like from the front end, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the technical side of it because it is still so new for a lot of brands. So what type of operations do you need? What are the requirements from technology or, back end that brands need to consider when launching a TikTok shop?
Yeah, for sure. You must have a legally registered business in the US. So you have to have a US entity and one US employee. Additionally, submit a valid EIN, business license, and tax ID during the onboarding process. Unless you're a publicly traded company, you do need to submit a driver's license and your last 4 digits of social security number. But I do want to point out this is not a TikTok requirement per se. It's a KYC requirement. It's actually a part of the Inform Act, which is a federal US law aimed at increasing transparency and accountability for online marketplaces to combat counterfeit goods and frauds. So it's actually a positive.
Yeah, I think that's the same requirement on the Seller Central side. It is a little odd when you launch a new shop and you have to have, the head of ecom or the director of ecom put their license. So it's an odd request, but I do think, I've seen it to be common across many platforms.
From there, a seller will set up their bank account to receive payouts and integrate with an e-commerce platform. And TikTok has a robust ecosystem of partners to support sellers in seamlessly connecting their existing operations to the platform. So just to name a few notable ones, Shopify, WooCommerce, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, Channel Advisor, Feedonomics, and because we get asked this all the time, multi-channel fulfillment through Amazon.
Through FBA.
Yes, correct. Lastly, there is Fulfilled by TikTok, which I personally would not recommend. I actually don't even think that they're accepting new sellers into the program, but I have heard that there has been kind of some hiccups as they get their kind of fulfillment center off the ground. So what we would recommend is do it either via Amazon or do connect one of the connector apps. Preferably Shopify is a great one that we see consistently.
Yeah, I think in general, as I learn more about TikTok Shop, there is a lot of crossover between running a TikTok Shop account and a Seller Central account through Amazon or even a Seller Center account through Walmart, right? They have the same type of qualifications of how you sign up, how you make sure that you're legit, right? And then beyond that, once you start shipping, the shipping requirements are even similar, right? So making sure it gets there on time, answering customer feedback, right? So I would say in general, if you're a brand that's already pretty comfortable with Seller Central or marketplaces in general, TikTok Shop is going to be like another retail channel from the back end. Like operationally, I don't think it's going to be a huge transition. I'm sure there's, a little bit of different rules, just like Amazon and Walmart, but overall they work pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's really similar, very, very transparent, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I think what really kind of stresses people out or makes them nervous is it is step by step. There is a lot of documentation. It is no different than any of the other marketplaces. But once you get your e-commerce platform connected, and I would say one of the things that kind of throws people, which is funny to me, is just the linking of your business center account to your marketing handle or your TikTok handle. That's kind of the part that people kind of get confused by. But other than that, it's super similar to like an Amazon or a Walmart.
One of the other big questions I see or I get a lot is, what does the investment look like? What does the model look like, right? I know operationally it's like other marketplaces, but if I'm thinking about getting started on TikTok Shop from a financial perspective, how should I think about the fees and what I need to invest and the budgets that I would need to get? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a referral fee, like every platform that TikTok takes. It's currently 6%, which is pretty competitive from what I hear when I speak to brands every day. Additionally, and this is something that's nuanced and different, is the commission structure or fee that you're going to be allocating to partner with creators. So there is a TikTok Shop affiliate program, and there are open and target collaborations that you can partner with different creators in. You will, of course, have to give them a commission rate for if they do sell a product, right? So I think that's different. So The commission rate changes depending on the vertical. We like to say an average is 15%. So you have 15% that you're going to be offering to the influencers that create content on behalf of your brand. And then additionally, you will, once you get that content supply up and running, want to amplify that with paid media and just kind of back to affiliates. This is not a fee per se, but you can do kind of refundable samples or you can charge for samples, but it is highly, highly, highly recommended that you do seed free samples to a certain number of affiliates per month.
Got it. Okay. So I sell a product for $10. TikTok Shop is taking 6%. If it's sourced through an affiliate, they're taking 15%. And then on top of that, I should probably budget some type of ad budget to boost these posts that drive the traffic to our TikTok Shop.
Yep. And I think the thing is, and this is how we approach it, and I think it's a little bit different from other marketplaces. A lot of people will like onboard, set up their shop, immediately throw paid spend, and then like be disappointed in the results. I think here we take a more like long-term methodical approach where we don't start off with paid media spend. We get that kind of content flywheel spinning by reaching out and partnering with different affiliates while the brand posts organic content on their handle. And then when we feel when we're in a good place from a content supply, that's when we'll kind of amplify and add fuel to the fire with paid media spend.
So inventory on the content side, I'm going backwards a little bit here, Jana, but the number of affiliates that you need in order to be successful, I'm sure it varies, right? But just like managing the communication on those affiliates. So what does that look like? Like, is that what you do so that the brands don't have to take that on? Because I would think that is a lot of work.
It is. It's a heavy lift. I think there are different approaches you can take, also just based on where you are in the journey, right? I think the approach you take to affiliates is going to be different if you're a cold start brand versus if you've been on the platform or have a really, really huge following or a post went viral and now you're opening your TikTok shop. So there's different approaches you can take. But that being said, the way that we handle it is we do kind of a combination of both. We do use that mass outreach capability for just discovery, test and learn. What types of content are working? What are people gravitating towards, whether it's the user or the creators that are partnering with you? And then from there, we develop targeted segments and we are reaching out to different creators in a more curated way. I will say, though, to your point, is it a heavy lift? Yes, it's a very manual process. And the way that we approach it is we handle and go through each request individually. So we're ensuring that we get the products that our brands are willing to seed in the hands of the right creators. And then we're continually iterating and optimizing the way that we do our reach out to make sure that we're getting impressions and also conversions from our creator partners.
Got it. Okay. So that's the part that, if you're on the brand side, doesn't scale a whole ton, right? So you launch your TikTok shop one time, right? You run your ads. Those probably are similar to the way that you run ads on other channels. The affiliate piece is definitely the new item, right? That you probably, if you're only running Amazon and Walmart, Seller Central or Seller Center activities, you probably don't have that muscle internally. So you may want to consider that, whether that's someone on the social team, maybe, or the influencer team, or obviously finding a partner like us to do that. Okay. Yeah. That's the part that I think is another, a bit of a barrier to entry, but being able to scale that through external resources sounds like a very smart one to think about. Outside of the financial model and just obviously driving GMV, what are some other benefits to TikTok Shop outside of sales?
Yeah, there actually are several indirect effects that go beyond just sales GMV. There is a halo effect on brand awareness. You have increased organic visibility within the platform, right? Outside of TikTok Shop, just within TikTok itself. There's boost to branded search. So a user may see on their For You page a post containing your brand, and then they'll go search for the brand on Google or Amazon. And there's that cross-channel spillover, right? We actually are working with a client right now. We had them participate in their very first campaign. They've been with the agency for about 2 months. And the day that they launched their very first promotional campaign, their Amazon sales spiked. So there was nothing different that the brand did except launch into that TikTok Shop campaign on that very day. And so that was really nice to see it in black and white. There are impressions and engagement beyond the purchase. because creator driven content multiplies reach. Even if it doesn't convert immediately, you'll get eyes on that content. And then there's that evergreen exposure. I'm sure you've seen this, Nicole, in your FYP. Like videos can resurface like again and again weeks later. So it's that continual loop of like putting that content in front of the user. There's social proof and content amplification. Affiliate content does outperform kind of like traditional ads in engagement. Review and product demos also give confidence, like users confidence before they buy, right? So they kind of know what they're getting into because they already trusted the creator that was talking to them about that product. And then there's consumer insights. Content performance kind of equals market research, right? So the way I like to position this is think about TikTok Shop and this creator model and this content as kind of like a focus group for your brand. And then the affiliate feedback loop. The active creators that you're partnering with, they're giving feedback on what's working. They're talking about what their user base is saying. So again, kind of ties back into that focus group. You utilize that if you're a brand when you're partnering with these creators. And then there's lower funnel lift elsewhere. There's higher retargeting success because visitors who engage on TikTok then become more responsive to paid ads on other platforms. So if they're continually seeing a product on TikTok, even if they don't click and add to cart right away, they may get served an ad when they're shopping on Amazon. And that's when they make the decision because they have a Prime account to make that purchase. And then lastly, faster product velocity, especially when you have a new launch. A strong TikTok shop can create, and it's a word, and Nicole, I know I use this all the time, but it's that flywheel. So a strong TikTok shop can create that flywheel effect. And so kind of like the model that it is the buzz from creators leads to impressions, which leads to conversions, and then increased visibility for your brand.
Across all channels, across all sales channels, not just specifically for the TikTok shop.
Correct. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
But the increased visibility is across your D2C, across Amazon, across all of your channels.
Right. Yeah, I think that as brands are really thinking about profitability right now, right? As expenses go up, it's, how do we get the most out of anything that we're doing, right? And how do we repurpose our investment in one specific thing for other use cases, right? And it feels like TikTok Shop through the affiliates, through the content that's, created by the partners is a good potential substitute for, hey, I lost some of my creative budget, right? Okay, well, you can get creative in a different way that's a bit more cost effective. So, that's just like one example, of brands coming to me and say, hey, creative budget got cuts. Like, all right, have you thought about affiliates? Have you thought about TikTok Shop? So different ways to get to the same end goal of driving awareness and getting products out there and the brand out there through unique marketing channels, not necessarily the more traditional ones like paid media.
100%.
Cool. Well, Jana, thank you for joining. This is awesome. I've learned so much from you. And I feel like every week there's something new that you always know about TikTok Shop. So thank you for keeping me up to speed and appreciate the time today.
It changes rapidly and that's why I'm here. And thank you so much for having me, Nicole.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jana.